Good morning and welcome to Vision Planning for 2026. My name is Erica and I'm the owner of EDM Consulting, and I specialize in helping small business owners get their goals in order, gain clarity and the confidence in order to grow their business. So today we're going to be talking all about vision planning because it's something that is so close to my heart. I've been doing it for a really long time. And I created a specific process to help make it much easier for me. And I share it with my clients, and I'm also sharing it with you today. So, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So, hopefully, as you're watching this, you have some paper or your computer open so that you can start to write things down. I'll also be offering a free Google worksheet that I will send along or link it within this post so that while you're watching the replay, you can also jot things down. So, to get started, this is one of my favorite quotes. If you've ever watched any of my presentations previously, you've probably heard me say it. Speak what you seek until you see what you've said. This is so important to me. I believe that we have to ask for what we want, and we have to continuously talk about what we want in order for it actually to come to fruition. So, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I hope you take it with you and also apply it within your life. So, to get started, why is it important to vision plan? Many people have lots of goals, lots of dreams, but they never actually put it down on paper and they never actually envision themselves achieving those things. And it's so important for these four reasons. So, clarity and focus. If you have a goal, if you're not consistently thinking about it and you're not consistently focused on it and you don't know exactly what that goal is, it's going to be almost impossible to achieve it. A vision plan also gives you motivation because once you've started seeing what life would be like, once you achieve those goals, it motivates you to want to get there faster. Alignment of goals. So, we all want a lot of different things in life, and sometimes it can be overwhelming to think about everything at once. But creating a vision plan can help you prioritize and make sure that all of those goals make sense together. All of your goals, when you think about them, whether it be from a personal, financial, health, all of those things should work together to help each other out. That way, the different goals that you're setting aren't fighting against each other and slowing down your progress. So, when you think about your vision plan, everything should be in alignment to help keep pushing you forward. And then finally, accountability. It gives you a goalpost to keep checking in on. You can see how far you've come, how much further you have to go, and to make sure you are on track to achieve everything that you're looking to achieve. So, how do I vision plan, which is what I'm sharing with you so you can create your own? So, I do it in four stages. And this is something that I realized just in all my years of management and learning about business planning. I realized that there is a system and a process to everything. Therefore, there should be a system and process to how you create your vision plan. So, this is what I realize works best for me, and it's helped a lot of people also achieve their goals. So, the first thing you want to do is evaluate, then you want to define, then develop, and then measure. And if you do all of these things in this order, then your vision will come to life. So let's get started here. It's easier to think about things when you have an example. So I created a fictitious business and a business owner so you can understand what this process looks like from start to finish. And then you can also use Amber's things that she's going through within her business to jog your own creativity and figure out what you can do and how you can apply it within your business. So Amber's the owner of Glow Candle Bar. I love candle bars, so I thought this would be a fun one to do. So she's been in business about 3 years and she's doing pretty well, but there's always room for improvement, right? So we're going to start her vision plan for next year. So the first step is we're going to evaluate. So before you can think about the future, you have to be thinking about the past. You have to learn to assess where you've been in order to set new goals. One thing I've noticed, a lot of business owners and just people in general do not track their current progress. They don't take the time to look back at how they're doing or celebrate their achievements. So, one of the first things that I want you to do as you're starting to jot things down as I speak is I want you to think about what your biggest achievements were for 2025. So it could be anything. The smallest thing is still a win. So I just want you to write down all of your achievements and then also think about what areas you need to improve in. Now, the document that I'm going to send you later will have a few more questions, but this is the essence and the most important part. You want to make sure that you're doing these two things. So let's check in on Amber and see some of the things that she evaluated. So, some of the things that she notated is that she had annual revenue growth of over 20% compared to last year. She launched two seasonal collections that sold out, which is an amazing accomplishment. She built a small but loyal customer base with repeat buyers and booked several private candle making workshops. So, those are the kind of things that you want to think about. Look really hard into your numbers. It could be things that you even overlook within your business, where just taking that time, that moment to pause, you'll be able to see some amazing things that you've done, and you need to take time to celebrate those things. So, what areas can she improve on? So, she said that she's doing everything herself from production to fulfillment, admin, all of those things, which I know is very common for business owners. So that's definitely an area for improvement because it's time to delegate. The more successful you are, the more room you have to start to delegate. And you can start small. It doesn't have to be everything at one time. Another thing she said is that she has no documented processes, which make it hard to delegate. And then she's starting to burn out during her peak season. So these are all major things that many business owners suffer and struggle with. So these are things that you need to be writing down so you can take the time to focus on finding a solution. So the next step is to define. So with a clear understanding of where your business is at currently, you can start defining specific goals to move your business forward or just personally in general. So remember, when you're doing this, you can do one for your business and then also one in your personal life as well, because the rules still apply no matter what. So when you're doing the define stage, what you want to do is figure out where do you see yourself by the end of the next year. So this is important in the vision process because you truly want to look and try to get an image in your mind of next year at this exact time. Where do you see yourself? What things are happening? You want to be as detailed and specific as possible so that you can start to picture that, and then that can become the foundation for your planning. The next thing is you want to think about what key areas of your business you want to focus on. And then finally, you're going to set specific goals around those areas. So we're going to check back in with Amber. So we know what her accomplishments are, we know what areas she's struggling with. So now we're going to see where she's going to define some of the things in her business. So, where she sees herself next year is she wants to have a more sustainable business that doesn't rely solely on her. So, she's going to hire one part-time employee to support the production and fulfillment of all of the candles. She wants to host monthly team bonding events for small businesses and other corporate owners. She wants to have stronger partnerships with local businesses and then also have clear systems in place. So, as you can see, all of those things that she envisions for herself tie back to where she saw herself at the end of next year. And what are the key areas of your business you want to focus on? So, for Amber, she's going to be focusing on operations and systems, hiring a new team member, revenue growth, and work-life balance. And then lastly, setting specific goals. So again, this step, it all culminates with setting specific goals. So the specific goals need to be measurable as well, and they need to be detailed. So for the operation systems, she's going to document her core processes for production, fulfillment, and customer communications by the end of Q2. For team growth, she plans to hire one part-time employee by the end of Q2. For revenue growth, she wants to increase her total revenue by 25% year over year. And then she wants to diversify her income so that the events that she's hosting account for at least 15% of her revenue. And then she wants to reduce her overall workload from 60 plus hours a week to 40 to 45 hours per week. So you can see how these are all very specific things that she can work towards that support where she wants to be at the end of 2026. So I want you to take time and write down a couple things now, just based off of what you heard and what you want in your future. Write down a couple of specific goals that you can work towards. So the next step is going to be develop. So with your goals in mind, you can craft an action plan. So before you start thinking about the whole big picture, it's important to detail the steps and the milestones of your plan. Looking at the big picture as a whole typically tends to overwhelm people, and that's where burnout happens, and that's where people get stalled because it's all too much. Instead, you want to try to break things down into bite-sized pieces that make it easier to attain and easier to manage. So, what specific actions will you take to achieve each of those goals? So, now that you've put in specific goals into place, you want to think about the steps that you're going to take to achieve each one. And then you also want to think about what resources are going to be required in order to achieve those goals. So, in Amber's case, she had goals around operations, team growth, revenue growth, and then work-life balance. So we're going to look at some of those specific actions that she's going to be taking in each of those areas. So for operations, she wants to create SOPs for candle pouring, inventory management, and order fulfillment. So that is a specific thing where she could put a checklist into place and say, I've completed that. I've now completed the inventory management and I've completed the order fulfillment. So you can see how there's small actions that she can see over time that she's actually achieving them. For hiring, she wants to make sure she writes her clear job description, create a simple onboarding and training checklist, and then start with 10 to 15 hours per week for that first part-time employee. So it's baby steps. You don't necessarily have to start with hiring a full-time team member. It's not a goal to have them fully hired within the first day. That's just not possible. So you want to give them little milestones that they can work towards and slowly delegate things to anybody who you hire. The next area is going to be revenue and marketing. And so she plans to commit to consistent email marketing, 2 emails per month. She plans to launch at least 60 days in advance for any of her new candle lines, and then also increase her wholesale outreach to local shops. So those are specific things that she can do to increase her revenue. And then what resources are going to be required for this? So when it comes to resources, that means both time and financial, or even sometimes physical things or products. So you want to think about what is it that's going to help you get to that next step. And don't be afraid to ask for help either. So sometimes we're stunted by fear of the word no. So make sure that you're always asking for help if you need it. Some of the things that she's going to be needing is a budget for her part-time employee wages. So if you've been on the fence about hiring someone new, the best way to start is by creating a budget where you can afford their salary and also figure out how much you can afford. And then start putting that amount away each month before you get the person hired. That way, you know that it's a comfortable amount for your budget and you have a little bit of reserves when you first get them hired, just in case you take some time to get them launched and get them actually bringing the ROI on your investment in hiring them. So it's really important to have that budget in place first. Other resources she'll need is the time to invest in documenting her processes. So even though it feels like a pain, documenting your process is one of the most important things that you can do because it makes sure or it ensures that your processes are replicable by other people. So that's the only way you'll be able to move out of doing everything and being able to delegate is being able to actually hand over a process to someone and being able to teach them how to do it properly. So she's also going to invest in an email marketing platform. And then she'll also need events and supplies for her portable workshop kits. And lastly, she's going to have to look into contracts and liability waivers for doing the group events offsite. So again, these are specific things that she can reach out to people for help or know that she needs to acquire over a length of time in order to achieve her goals. So the final step in this process is to measure. So once you have the goals in place, you have to have some system of measurement to track your progress. Because again, if you don't have a goal post, you're going to feel like you're doing all this work and you won't see the results. So every step that you're taking within your business or your personal life, you should have something to measure. Just like if our goal is to lose weight, obviously we're going to need to get on the scale. And sometimes just worrying about the pounds that you lose is not the important part. Sometimes you also want to be looking at your BMI or your calorie intake or your muscle mass. You want to be looking at all these different things in order to help you if you're moving the needle. Because sometimes just the weight on the scale doesn't tell you if you're actually making progress. Sometimes your weight could stall, and there's other things that you want to be looking at. So, in a similar terms for your business, you don't always just want to look at the revenue. You want to be looking at other things so that in times when business growth seems slow or it seems stagnant, then you want to be looking at the other things that you're doing to move the needle and find out if they are successful. And that will help to give you the motivation to continue to move forward. So you want to think about what metrics you will use to measure the success of each goal. And then how are you going to adapt if you're not on track? So this question right here is very important, both in your personal life and business. If you don't think about the what if prior to, in the moments, it can become very difficult to move forward if you're not reaching your goals. So you want to have a plan in place. It's almost like I don't want to say a parachute. What is that thing? Basically, something that catches you when you fall. You want to have something in place, a fail safe, that's going to help support you in the times where you feel like you want to give up because you're not reaching your goals. So it's going to be a plan of action, maybe a pivot, or maybe that's your time when you're going to go and review everything that you did over the past 90 days to see what's working and what's not. Regardless of what it is, you want to make sure you have a plan in place. So let's look at what Amber's going to do to measure hers. So in the operations area, she's going to monitor the time that she's saving per week after she starts to delegate, and then the number of documented tasks that she's completed. And then for revenue, she's going to monitor her monthly revenue compared to last year. And then the percentage of revenue that is gained from events versus sales, because one of her goals is to increase the number of corporate events that she's doing. So it's important that she tracks that information as well. On top of that, for specifically events, she's going to track the number of the teams that she booked per quarter, or excuse me, the team member events that she's booked per quarter. And then she's also going to track repeat bookings because that's important as well. Because once you have a customer, it's much cheaper to retain that customer and turn them into a repeat buyer than trying to find new ones. So if she can find a way to have her corporate clients keep coming back to her, that's better for her business success in the long run. So how is she going to adapt if she's not on track? So if her revenue is behind, she's going to increase promotions and partnerships. If her hiring feels overwhelming, she's going to start with a contractor instead of an employee. And that happens sometimes. You have to find ways to pivot, especially when hiring. Maybe you don't need to hire a part-time employee. Maybe it's just delegating by hiring to do a certain task. So for social media, maybe instead of hiring an employee, you hire a social media managing company. Or instead of having to do your books all the time, you get something off of your plate by hiring a bookkeeper. So when you're thinking about things, try not to limit yourself to just one track. Use this process to try to think outside of the box as well. And if events aren't booking, then she's going to refine her offer and target a more specific audience. So this is really important as well. Sometimes, especially in marketing, it can feel like you're marketing to everyone and nobody is biting, but that could be the issue. Maybe you have to get more specific in who you're speaking to so that you can speak directly to that core group of people's pain points. So if you're feeling like you're not making any progress within your marketing, sometimes it means that you have to refine who you're actually marketing to. So don't get discouraged by low numbers because as long as you are monitoring all of these items, the data will give you information where you can actually make changes and improve. So don't be discouraged by those numbers. As long as you're tracking something, there's always room for growth. So the last piece of the puzzle is finding the balance. I am really huge on work-life balance. Some people don't believe that that's an actual thing, but I truly believe it is. It may not truly ever be a 50-50 split, but I believe that you have to make room for things in your life. So you have to make room for the business, you have to make room for the personal, you have to make room for your self-care. So in your vision planning, you want to make sure that it's a holistic plan that incorporates all the things that are important to you in your life. So, some of the things that you want to think about, and again, there's more questions in the document that I'm going to share, but some of the things that you want to think about is when can you commit to non negotiable time for self care? And what boundaries can you set between your work and your personal life to help it be more consistent and feel like it's not so overwhelming? So let's go ahead and see where Amber is in that. So, where can she find her non negotiable time for self care? She's going to have one full day off per week with no business tasks, no candle production after 7 p.m., quarterly CEO days focused on planning and not doing anything. So, when you're thinking about your non negotiable time for self care, this is a time when you're cutting off everything from your business. This is a huge thing that I want to make sure everybody actually knows and that they commit to going into 2026, because I do feel like overwhelm and burnout come from this fact alone that some people spend all their time thinking about their business. They never sleep. They, even when they do sleep, they wake up thinking about different things. You have to find an off switch. And that off switch doesn't come overnight. You have to train yourself to turn things off. And you have to allow space specifically for those things. So, giving yourself one full day off per week with no business tasks, it can feel very challenging at first, but it's super important that you at least commit to trying to do that. And hopefully by the end of next year, you can say that you accomplished this task. So, what boundaries is she going to set for work and personal life? So, business emails answered only during business hours. This is a big one. This is one that I learned within my first year of being in business, and now I'm in my third, that you should not be answering emails outside of business hours. Number one, it trains your customers or your clients that they can get access to you whenever you want or whenever they want, which is not a good thing. Number two, it also makes it so that you cannot turn off work mode. If you are constantly checking your work email or looking at your social media, even, then that kind of leads to the fact that you can't turn off the off switch. So, even setting that hard boundary that you won't be checking emails after a certain time, even that alone can lead to you turning off the switch. So, no last minute custom orders during peak season. A lot of us are very giving and caring in nature, and we want to make sure we're providing our customers the best service, going above and beyond. But even within that, you have to have boundaries. So, again, when you do last minute custom things, then people come to expect that. There's no exceptions. A lot of times, if you make an exception for something, people will think that that becomes the rule. So you want to make sure you're very careful in setting these boundaries and making these exception orders or concessions because it can create unhealthy boundaries with your clients. You want to have clear cutoff dates for holiday orders. And then she's also going to delegate tasks instead of defaulting to, I'll just do it myself. So, this again is another big thing when it comes to business owners and not having balance. A lot of times we, one, feel like we're the only person who can do the job properly. Two, we think that if I do it myself, it'll be much quicker than me trying to get someone else to do it. And three, we are micromanaging or living in fear that the person will not do a good job, which then causes more work in the end. So, delegation is a skill that you have to practice, and you have to make sure that you have systems and processes in place in order to delegate properly. If you are training whoever the person is, whether it's your husband or your child or whoever you're delegating tasks to, if you're teaching them exactly the way that you want it done and checking to make sure that they can do it properly before you officially give the task over, then you don't have to worry about micromanaging them. So practice delegating tasks, practice giving people clear and specific instructions on how to do the task, and you can watch them do the task the first time. And as long as you see that they've done it the way that you want, then you can move on. You don't have to keep checking back in with them. So really hold on to those boundaries and stick to them as much as you can within the new year. Okay, that's the full process of creating your vision. So this is the written side. This is you brainstorming, getting everything written down and out of your head. You can keep coming back to it and editing throughout the year even, because sometimes things change as you do them, but it's just really important to at least have everything written down as a foundation. But on top of that, you also need visual reminders. So I wanted to show you ways that you can actually create a visual very easily. Canva is free for everyone. There is a paid pro version, but they have a lot of free templates that you can use to create your vision board. So I used to do vision boards by cutting pictures out, you paste all of that stuff, but I stopped doing that in 21. Started using Canva, and now that's what I do every single year. And so this is my very first vision board that I created in there, and I've created one ever since. I decided not to show you all of them. But this is the very first one I made. And then this is one of the current templates available within Canva right now. So you can, in essence, take all of the different goals that you chose to set within the defined section of this plan and then find pictures that represent that goal so that you can have a visual of what you want and you can actually put it somewhere within your office or your workspace so that you can constantly look at it. I'm sitting at my desk right now in my office, and my vision board is directly in front of my desk. So I see it daily, and it's something that is a constant visual reminder. Even though I'm not looking at it subconsciously, I see it every single day. So again, you can put your own pictures in there. You can put the stock photos in there, whatever you want. You can just add to this vision board. And then what I do is I have it printed by either like Costco, anywhere where you basically get pictures or poster boards printed. You can then send it there and have it printed as large or small as you want it. So this is the way that I create my visual, but I highly recommend once you have the plan written out, you want to make sure that you have some type of visual to support it. And the last and final words is a goal without a plan is just a wish. So get your goals out of your head onto paper and start creating a plan. Is all that I have for you. I'm going to go ahead and take questions and stop the recording. But if you have questions while you're watching the replay, please feel free to either put it in the comments or send me an email, and I'll link my contact information below. Thank you.